Welcome to the Daily Dish with Leanne Ely. This is a show about you, your life, and the vibrancy you want. Join us for daily motivation, wise women's tips, and more as we collectively gather together and move the needle in our lives, heart, mind, body, and soul. Now, here is your host, Leanne Ely, and the Daily Dish.
The Daily Dish. I have to do that every time. Hi, everyone. Hi, Marguerite Corliss. Kathy, good to see you. Welcome. It's Soulful Saturday. You know, it's been a heck of a bonanza. Who was there? Who giddy-upped with me? We had a great old time. Hi, Kimberline. Hi, Kathy. Yep, it was fun. It was a great time. And for all of you who participated and were a part of it, it was so much fun. Hi, Joanne. It's so good to see you. Anyway, it was something. And by the way, through the weekend, we have encores. The encore shows are there. Everything is there for you, including the deals. Hi, Carol. Good to see you. Alice, Vanessa, Maria's in the house. Hi, Angie. Love it. Yeah, we are all winners. You're right, Kimberline. That's exactly right. We had a really, really good time. And so many fun prizes went out, including some really big ones, a seat to Inner Circle, the entire skincare line, which now has 8 products in it, by the way. Hi, Terry. There's my girl, Tanya. Good to see you. There we go. Look, Nancy's here. The party's complete. We now have Nancy. And Terry's wearing her Wonder Woman outfit. Yeah, I know you are, Terry. I know you are. I know what you look like. I know what you got on. We have a new quote of the week, and it's George Lucas, who says, "Your focus determines your reality." That's a good one, don't you think? I love that one. Keep that one in the back of your head as you start to maybe go off the rails a little bit with your focus. Bring it back. That's going to determine your reality. Hey, Lucy, I'm glad you're here. Joanne's amening that. So yeah, we know. We all know. We've all experienced this. We've all lived this. But this is an important thing to remember. And as you know, this is Soulful Saturday. And you know what? I don't have all my notes. Have you recognized that maybe I'm in a different location? I am in Caroline's house, having some time with my daughter today. We went to the lab clinic with her 3 huskies. It was like having 3 humongous huskies taking us down, the snow path in a sled. Seriously. It was pretty fun. We had just an interesting time. Let's just say there's a certain dog, I'm not going to name names right now because they're all asleep. I don't want them waking up, who did not like the veterinarian and was not good for getting his blood taken. So there's a certain dog. It was fun. And aren't they so pretty? Everybody's saying how pretty your dogs are, Caroline. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. They're beautiful. And really fun. We had a good time. And the vets loved them, of course, because they're sweet. They've got great personalities. Joanne's saying hi to you, Caroline.
Hi, Joanne.
She said hello. So anyway, thank you. I love this color too. I think it's a pretty color. But anyway, I'm back now at her house, and she lives a good 45 minutes away from me, which is really a bummer. I wish she was much closer, but it is what it is. So I just said, after I'm done, I'm going to come here to your house. I'm going to do Inner Circle here, and then I'm going to go right into doing the show. So you're stuck with me. We have all kinds of links, and I'll tell you what, Jenny's going to throw them into the chat. I'm tired. Can I just admit that? I'm just really tired. The bonanza was a lot. And, 3 hours of shows every day and the preparation and all that we went to. I'm going to tell you something. I have a great team, amazing team. Everybody went the extra mile, especially our Jenny, who I've given strict orders to be crocheting and not on the computer tomorrow. Strict orders. She needs crochet therapy. And has well deserved all of it for all the hard work that she's been doing. We do have Black Friday stuff coming up right now, though. We're in bonanza mode. You can still take advantage of that. Go to savingdinner.com/bonanza. You're right, Lucy. We do have a good team. Everybody's agreeing. Of course you are. So this whole week we have been focused, except for when we were on the bonanza, we've been focused on a friend of mine. I told you about that. My friend Jim Quick, who brilliant guy, and he's an expert on brains. He's an expert on how the brain works. He wrote a book called Limitless. That's really worth your time and just quite a read. And one of the things that he said that jumped out at me was, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. But if you argue for your possibilities, you get to create them. Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little platitudey, doesn't it? It sounds like, yeah, whatever. But, it also goes along with focus and just exactly what George Lucas is saying, that your focus determines your reality. That's what that whole thing is about. So we have been talking about that, how limitations and all of that. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to take you into the place of embracing some limitations. I know that sounds really bizarre. I know, doesn't it? But I want to give you the flip side of what limitations are, because I think sometimes if we can see the full scope of what this is about, then maybe we can start getting into the place of the reality of what our reality is and what it is that we're dealing with. My son, I told you, my son is turning 30 on Sunday. And boy, oh boy, when your baby turns 30, you know that things are out there. But I remember having 2 children under 2, and just the reality of that, with all the paraphernalia, you all know, with all the paraphernalia, how I was feeling. I had postpartum depression in spades. So just all of that, and just the whole limitation of everything. I thought I couldn't do anything. I thought all I was good for was a big milk machine. That was basically my whole job. I never saw possibilities. I only saw limitations. And that held me back for many, many years, thinking that this was something that I couldn't do. But I wish I had known this stuff then and what I know now. And I say that because I know that right now, I know that light is probably driving you crazy. It's on the back of I'm going to see if I can do this without my glasses. But I know right now that there's someone sitting here right now and saying, yeah, limitations. You don't understand what my schedule's like. You don't understand what my circumstances are. And I don't know your circumstances. I don't know your life. I don't know what you're under. All I know is that we all have the responsibility to customize our lives within our own restraints and within our own constraints as well. And that, believe it or not, the flip side of limitations are that constraints can be powerful. They can be powerful, believe it or not, because they have a way of putting into place your priorities, whether you like it or not. Let me explain a little bit. Great story. In 1960, there was a man named Bennett Cerf. Ever heard of his name? He was the founder of Random House. And he made a $50 bet with a guy named Theo Geisel. Ever hear that guy? You're going to know who he is in a minute. He made a bet with Theo Geisel that he couldn't write an entertaining children's book for 50 words or less. He couldn't write an entertaining children's book for 50 words or less. So this guy, Theo, says, dude, you're on. And he wrote a book that came out called Green Eggs and Ham by his pen name, Dr. Seuss. And to date, it's sold over 200 million copies. This is a case of constraint. All he could do was use these 50 words, and that was it. And Green Eggs and Ham is probably the number one, if not close to the number one Dr. Seuss book. And look at it. It's a delight to read. 50 words was all he used in that. And it was because of a bet that he made with his publisher. And by the way, all the Saving Dinner books are under Random House. And I remember when I went to Random House in New York for a meeting with my editor, it was quite an intimidating experience. I was standing there in the lobby of Random House, and in glass cases, probably 2 stories high, maybe at once, I don't know, were all of the books that were Dr. Seuss's books and other Random House authors that have classic books in there. And I remember seeing Green Eggs and Ham and thinking, oh yeah, I'm in good company here. It was quite an experience. That's a sidebar, by the way. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Isn't that such a neat story, though, that 50 words or less, a $50 bet And here we are, like one of the number one children's books in all the world, beloved by millions and millions of people. So I tell you that because that was a book that was written with constraints and limitations, and it turned out to be a blessing. Maybe you only have 50 words to do with your life. Maybe you only have 50 words that you can use. But the point is how we look at our constraints, and that's my number one point here, is that there's lessons. There's lessons in constraint. And constraint creates creativity. If you look at it that way, it does. Constraints can create creativity. I just gave you probably one of the best examples ever. This is what made it happen for Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss's book basically paved the way for amazing children's books of a completely different genre too. And another one that I can think of is, you probably don't remember unless you were in Charlotte, do you remember Muggsy Bowles back in the 90s? He was a Charlotte Hornet. He's a short guy. He's 5'3" in the NBA. Yeah, you heard me. 5'3" in the NBA. He's no longer playing, of course. I mean, he's in his late 50s. But the point being that, what was it? What was it that got him into the NBA? It wasn't his dunking ability, was it? 5'3" guy isn't going to be a good dunker. It was in his assists and in his steals. He used his limitation and constraint as an advantage. Isn't that awesome? How often do we say we can't do something, or we can't, I spent years saying I couldn't do something because I've got to take care of these kids, because I've got to do this homeschooling stuff, because I got,
Gee, thanks.
yeah, I hope you're feeling guilty, Caroline,
No.
for all of this stuff. But really, we use our situations and as reasons and rationales and excuses instead of to our advantage. And it wasn't until much later that I started seeing the blessing of my life, that I started to see that this could lend itself to creativity. I wrote this is a true story. I wrote an article, or rather a newspaper column called The Manic Housewife. Manic meaning inordinately enthusiastic, not like I need medications or anything like that. And that whole thing was born out of me talking to a newspaper editor and asking for a job. This is in Rutherford County, in Forest City, Spindale, I guess, I don't even know, but at the Daily Courier. And I just was gutsy enough to go knock on the door to the editor and say, hey, I want to write for you. He liked me. He liked how I was gutsy. He thought I was funny. And he said, go write a column. And guess who I talked about in this column? My kids, my homeschooling experience. I used the constraint of what I thought was a constraint.
Your limitations.
And my daughter's giving me a little bit of grief right now. But
Firstborn.
do you understand that? Do you understand what I'm saying there? If we look at what our limitations are, we can start seeing how they are a blessing and how we can actually leverage them for us to live a better life and for us to live our most creative life. And that literally happened to me as well. Number two, constraints. Well, I already said that one. Number one is constraints create creativity. Okay, and that's a really important component. And I want you to think in terms of when you're thinking about your constraints in your life. I want you to start thinking, where's the creative side of this? Because when we do, that's when our reticular activating system is going to work on our behalf to help us to gather the evidence to support the thing that we want. It's amazing how that whole thing works. Really, when you've made a decision, you want to buy a certain car, suddenly you see it on the road. That's your reticular activating system. You have activated that part of the radar in your brain. So now you're looking for it. It makes all the difference in the world. Number two is that constraints create schedules that might not exist otherwise. And I will tell you this, schedules create a life as well. If we just willy-nilly, there's two things that we have to look at. Sometimes we're either saying we have too little time or too much time. I've seen this before in my coaching clients. that recently retired. I don't know what to do with all this time. And before I know it, all this time has slipped away. And then I've also coached clients who've had no time whatsoever. And they're trying to figure out how this whole thing works. But you know what I say to that? With everyone, we all have a Goldilocks zone of just right, just enough wiggle room, just enough whatever. And it's our jobs to figure it out because, we can find pockets of time anywhere. Yesterday was my day of like 5-minute workouts. I had 10-minute workout here and a 10-minute workout there, 5 minutes here. And then I go outside and bounce on the rebounder because I know that if I don't get any kind of physical activity and I'm really going to feel like a slug. And there's, a lot of stuff. We had a lot of stuff going on these last few days and trying to get ready for it. There's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. But I'll tell you what, you can work it out and figure it out when you look for those pockets of time and figure out your own Goldilocks zone because yours isn't mine and mine isn't yours, right? That's how this whole thing works. Number 3 is to stop the complaints and use some restraints instead. Because I believe that we spend more time complaining and focused on what it is that we can't do. And that's what we're going to get more of. Because if we decide that if we are airing our dirty laundry out like that, our brain's not hearing that. Our brain doesn't understand negative. Our brain only understands the positive. So if you say, I don't have time, your brain is saying you have time for whatever it is that you don't. In other words, I don't have time gets translated to, then let's waste time. So it's really an important thing that we start thinking in terms of what it is that we want and start translating that to our brains. And by the way, I'm drinking, you're probably wondering, Kavita. This is the only one that I recommend. It's a sparkling probiotic drink, the lemon cayenne. And it's really tasty. It makes you feel good.
Your limitation bought that for you.
My limitation did. My firstborn limitation bought me that. So if we take that constraints and start looking at it and stop complaining about our lack of time and instead start looking for the time, it will show up. We'll figure it out. I promise you, you will figure it out. So instead of saying, I don't have time, just say, I don't have time yet. Remember that was from earlier this week. We add the yets. If we add yet, I don't have time yet, then that opens the door to possibilities and gives us permission to start looking for, where can I put this? How can I add this in? Where is this going to make some sense? It was like yesterday, I was thinking, I don't have time to work out. And then I said, well, I don't have time to work out yet, but I can do 10 minutes of this. I can do 5 minutes of this. And this morning when I was so crunched for time and what have you, I said, you know what? I'm going to use this as a rest day. And that's okay too. I just don't want to have too many rest days in between is the point. And that's why I would give a big solid vote, if you will, for maybe keeping a track of all of that to see, how many rest days you're putting in there. Number 4 is assess your mess, because I will tell you, what do you have? You don't know what you have until you assess it. You don't know what you're really up against, except the fact that you're spending a whole heck of a lot of time complaining. I don't have time. I don't have the money. I don't have this. I don't have that. And all your brain is hearing, this is what, it's lack of. And we need to instead put in this idea that the abundance that we're seeking is also seeking us. The strength that you are seeking is also seeking you. The health that you're seeking is also seeking you. There's a whole attraction thing there. And I believe it's out there. It's just we need to activate it by talking about that. Instead of activating the negative, let's activate the positive. So assessing our mess is oftentimes we just don't know. We don't know because we haven't really looked at what our day is like. We just see our time frittering away. But what if you took a time block sheet and you looked and you just tracked your day for a day and you had it all on paper, and then you recognize and say, oh my gosh, I'm spending, 2 hours on TikTok watching videos, and watch mine on TikTok, by the way. Yeah, I'm just, you know how it is. But we just need to know, where is our time really going? What is the truth about our day and our schedule and all of that? Assessing your mess. What do you have? That's the thing that we need to be looking at, because the creativity of where your time is going and the reality of where your time is going is all dependent on how you're looking at it and what the truth of it is. And if you don't know, you're just going to keep shooting at the hip like you have been and going nowhere fast. So maybe you've got 5 minutes to get in a 4-minute workout. And maybe you would have spent that just going through TikTok videos or, Instagram or something. What if you spent that on you in a productive way? When we do that, we also get a hit of dopamine for going beyond and going in a little bit into the risk zone of doing something I just would rather sit down and, watch endless videos or get on Netflix or whatever. When we do something that's outside and above what we would normally do, we are bucking the trend of what we usually do and getting to the place of getting that dopamine. It just makes so much of a difference. What did you say? I can't see what you're saying. Joanne says, I have so much to do today. However, being here is very important to me, and I know I get it all done. Of course you will. I know you will. I know you will. I love that. Of course you will, Joanne. You get everything done. But, the thing is, your limitations only determine your creativity, and your creativity is only limited by what you think you can or cannot achieve. That's the truth. That's the truth. I know this with all of my heart. Every single book I've ever written, having this business for almost 21 years, it's a lot of grit went into that, not just creativity, but grit. Even when I didn't want to, even when I was scared, even when I thought it was impossible. It was all about, what can I do here? Just this one little, what can I do? And I will tell you, it demanded creativity out of me. My whole life I've spent like that. My whole life I've spent like that. But you know what? Sometimes possibilities just come disguised as limitations. They do. We think we don't have what we need. We think we don't have enough time. We think it's impossible. We think. What if we took those constraints instead and said, this is an opportunity for some creativity. This is an opportunity to grow. This is an opportunity even to encourage another person. This is an opportunity to have 5 minutes to myself to do something that's going to help me out. What if we thought in those terms instead of all the reasons why we can't? I don't know. I think it's good. James Clear says that limitations just determine the size of the canvas that we're painting on. And what we paint on that canvas is determined by the painter. That's you. And I think that's brilliant, because I don't know about you, but when I find myself saying, I can't, that is a red flag for me saying, Leanne, you're limiting yourself. And while I might have certain limitations of things that I can or cannot do, that doesn't mean that I am beyond. It doesn't. It just means I need to be creative, that my canvas might not look like yours, but you know what? I still have the paints and I still have the brush. I'm the one that gets to determine what gets painted. No one else. And same with you. What do you think of that? I thought it was a cool topic this week. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did. And I hope, by the way, that you are going to take great advantage of our Bonanza sale, because honestly, it is the best sale of the year, bar none. And go to savingdinner.com/Bonanza and go take a look at them. I believe all of our sessions are there, as well as all of the deals. You'll see everything that's there. And you'll also see a list of all the people who won the great prizes that we had out. And by the way, right underneath me is a banner that says text join to 855-960-3720. I want to tell you why you want to do this. Our text message, we just sent out our very first text message. Pretty fun, right? Get on our text message list, because this is going to be a list that's going to alert you early of what's going on or give you a deal that nobody else is getting. So we like taking really good. Of course you joined, Vanessa. Of course you joined, Vanessa. I'm so glad. Oh, Joanne, that's so sweet. Yeah. Give yourself grace. We all need to give ourselves grace. And I believe that this whole lesson of what we were talking about this week about limitations, that's a lot. There's a whole heck of a lot of grace there. So take good care of yourself. Tomorrow is Sunday. We will be dark, but we'll be back on Monday. So join us on Monday, and it's Thanksgiving week. We might have a thing or two that we're going to be sharing with you. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Check back for new episodes. If you missed the live show, you can always watch the replay. You can find Saving Dinner on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Until next time, pinkies up.